Some are calling it a witch hunt. In 2015, it emerged that Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan was being investigated for his involvement in setting up a spy unit within SARS. In 2016, he was told to cooperate. The rand fell sharply and later stabilized after the National Prosecuting Authority confirmed that it was not investigating the minister. Just over a week ago, the NPA backed away from this case. Today, the minister received a summons to appear in court, this time on a charge of fraud, also dating back to when he was the SARS commissioner.
It was very surprising because a few weeks ago we had thought that this was behind us and the Hawks are no longer investigating the finance minister. And then now, all of a sudden, unexpectedly, we hear that there are charges of fraud, and we had not anticipated this. It feels like they're trying to pin anything against the finance minister.
The summons will instruct him to appear in court on a particular day and at a particular time. So normally an accused person would then instruct attorneys or advocate to represent him, and then they must present themselves at court on the day. Generally speaking, on the first appearance, the matter is not proceeding. There will be a postponement for documentation, investigation.
The rand fell almost immediately, wiping out the strong gains it clawed back in the last month. Banking stocks plummeted, with the sector losing over 5% on the day. Analysts say the steep declines signal a lack of confidence in South Africa. The latest development also comes just weeks before the medium-term budget policy statement, which is always monitored closely by the ratings agencies.
The risk is that he may be under so much pressure that he decides to step down, or he may be pushed to step down, or we could see a reshuffle as a result of this. S&P did say that if this finance minister is removed, they could come back out of their review process and downgrade South Africa. Remember, they did that with Brazil when Dilma Rousseff was impeached. They went out of their review timetable and they downgraded Brazil.
Now that the minister is facing charges, he may have to step down. It's not clear whether President Jacob Zuma will step in or call for a reshuffle of his cabinet.
This is a separate criminal proceeding against him. It's entirely a political and management decision as to what happens to him as a result of these charges. So being a cabinet minister, the president has to make a decision as to whether he's going to continue in office or will be put on leave or suspended.
Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan has been ordered to appear in court on the 2nd of November. The timing couldn't be worse. The economy is stuttering along, and there's the dreaded downgrade to junk status, which the Finance Minister was working around the clock to avoid. On the flip side, there is the view that for some, time is running out. Pravin Gordhan is in the way and needs to be removed. Experts believe that the political wrangling over this issue will cause severe harm to the country and the economy. Sumitra Nadu, CCTV, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And we certainly will be quantifying a little bit of that damage a little later when we get to the markets. But now let's dig into the meat of this particular story. Lesiba Mutata is the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, who joins me now live from Johannesburg. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Is this a done deal from the market's perspective? Is it now highly likely that by the end of 2016, Pravin Gordhan will probably not be South Africa's finance minister?
There's a high probability that will be an outcome. That which is happening here, it really is a fierce fight between these two institutions. I would put a high probability that he doesn't continue, with negative effects that come along with it. It's just really quite unfortunate that we find ourselves here, because this country was benefiting from the global recovery that is nascent, and also it looked increasingly easier to chat to the rating agencies without them having adverse ratings decisions from where we sit.
Indeed. Speaking of which, you've actually just segued nicely into my next question for you. How much closer is South Africa, given these developments, to a downgrade come December?
So with these developments, they make it a certainty. Before this, we could easily have averted a downgrade, because there's a Chinese slowdown that's happening, assisting South Africa. There's stronger ties between us and that of China. There's also sub-Saharan Africa demand for exports that are assisting SA, that also is contributing positively. So in summary, we would have seen growth that is north of 1.5% in the next year. That will make it very difficult for a rating agency to look at SA and find strong institutions, particularly strong central bank, and also a fiscal policy that is sound and downgrade us easily. These political machinations around the leadership of the National Treasury make it much easier to arrive at a decision of downgrading SA.
Indeed. Looking at the numbers, the rand down about 4% against a greenback a little earlier today. I believe it hit about 14.36. Given the rout we've seen today in the rand and in equities as well, about $3.3 billion of market cap wiped off the 6 big banks in South Africa, should we expect more of the same, or is this time perhaps somewhat different?
You know, it needs authorities, those who are in leadership, to come and tell us. There has been a few statements made from the presidency, from also other sources, but I don't think it's enough to say that they back the Ministry of Finance. That South Africa, in the last about 20 years, was on a path of prudent fiscal management. That needs to be confirmed to be the outcome that will be going forward. So with that, without that, there's a risk that uncertainty will weigh on markets, that sell-off in banks, it's ominous, especially when it's at the same time with a sell-off in bonds, which we have seen today. I'm afraid it could continue if we don't get surety from those in authority that the National Treasury is intact and its policies will remain that of frugal, prudent fiscal constructs.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you so much for your insights. Lesiba Mutata live there in Johannesburg.